Hey, welcome today. I'm glad you're joining me. I'm Pastor Michael Hailey in New Day Church in Brandon, Florida. Let me ask you a question. Do you do any online shopping? Probably, I don't know, upwards of 90% of us do online shopping nowadays, don't we? And if you do online shopping, you have to be kind of careful because so many times what you see online is not always what you get when they bring it to your front door, right? So many things are being counterfeited these days. For instance, I was checking out some of the latest hair regrowth pills on Amazon for a friend. And some of the reviews said, this is a scam, a fake. Don't buy this. It was the same thing when I looked up the newest quick weight loss pills. Again, for a friend. I got the same thing. This is a fake. Don't buy. Well, think about this. What about our faith? What about our Christian life? Could it be fake? Is it a scam? Or is it truly for real? Which is what we will be talking about for just a few minutes today from the book of James, where we find some really helpful ways we can evaluate our own faith life to determine if, in fact, it is for real. Is your faith for real? And the first one is this. My faith is not for real just because I say it is. Does that make sense? In James chapter 2, he says this, what good is it, my brothers and sisters, if someone claims to have faith but has no deeds? Can that kind of faith save them? James is speaking about people who claim to be Jesus followers, but their life and their works and their lack of ministry to other people negates that claim. It was a problem in this church that James was writing to, and sadly, it continues to be a problem today. Because lots of churches are really good at gathering up on Sundays to talk about their faith, but not so good at leaving the church and living out what they talked about after the service is over. James would say that in that case, their faith at least acts like it's not for real. Because real faith, genuine Christianity, is about what we do with what we talk about. So my faith is not for real just because I say it is. And secondly, it's not for real just because I feel like it is. And the reason why is because while I can be moved to great feelings of compassion and empathy at the sight of a need, I can also walk away from that need without giving it another thought if my faith is not the real deal. Now notice how James illustrates that in verse 15. He says, suppose a brother or sister is without clothes and daily food. If one of you says to them, go in peace, keep warm and well fed, but does nothing about their physical needs, what good is it? In the same way, faith by itself is not, if not accompanied by action, is dead. In other words, it's not for real. In one of the Charlie Brown episodes, I hope you like Charlie Brown, I do. In one of the Charlie Brown episodes, Charlie Brown and Linus are all bundled up and cozy in the house, while Snoopy is outside shivering in the cold as he stands in front of an empty dog food bowl with snow coming down all around him. So Charlie Brown and Linus have this discussion. They're looking out the window at Snoopy, and they're discussing how sad it is that Snoopy's hungry and that Snoopy's cold. So they finally conclude, poor Snoopy, he's really having a rough time. We need to do something about it. We need to cheer him up. So they walk outside and they shout, hey, Snoopy, be of good cheer. Yes, be of good cheer, Snoopy. And then quickly back inside their warm house. Now, do you know where Charles Schulz, the creator of Charlie Brown, got that idea for an episode? It was from these verses from James that I just read you. That's true. What good is it if you see someone in need and just walk on by as you say, I really feel for you there, brother. Golly, too bad for you there, sister. Because it's way more than feelings, isn't it? Let's say after preaching this message today, that I drive by your house and notice you've just slammed 8 of your 10 fingers in the car door and you're standing there with blood all over you, trying to be brave, but you're crying your eyes out, right? Or you should be. Listen, if I drive by there and I roll down my window and say, whoa, man, that sucks. I hate that for you. Boy, that's going to leave a mark. Sucks being you right now. If I were to do that, would that be of help to you? No. Of course not. Because for real faith is more than just sympathy and feeling. It is more importantly about action and initiative. So for real faith is not just about what I say it is. It's not about what I feel it is. And third, it's not really about what I believe it is. Now watch, stay with me here. Verse 18 says this. But someone will say, you have faith, I have deeds. Show me your faith without deeds, and I'll show you my faith by my deeds. You believe that there's one God? Good. Even the demons believe that and shudder. Now, for many today, especially on social media, faith and religion is simply, to them, another intellectual experience. It has become something to study and debate and discuss, more than it is something to put into practice. And what a powerful illustration here James uses demons, the devil. Because let me say this, the devil's no fool. And I'm sure of that. And do you know how I'm sure of that? Because Solomon said in Proverbs 14, the fool has said in his heart, there is no God. Hey, the devil and his demons are not fools. They believe in Jesus. And their belief in Jesus is proof of that. In fact, they believe in Him so strongly it makes them tremble, shudder in fear. But watch this. Even though they have this amazingly strong belief, it is not enough to motivate them to live out that belief, is it? You never hear about the devil's good deeds or the amazing benevolence and compassion of his demons, do you? No. Why? Because while the devil may possess intellectual belief about God, he has no clue about real faith and a relationship with God, does he? Because real deal faith will always make a difference. For instance, if you grab a bare wire, a 220 wire, how many of you believe you'll know it? Right? Yes, sure you will. One of my friends who owns a number of rental properties told me one day over lunch about a call he received from one of his tenants. And the tenant was screaming, I just got electrocuted. I just got electrocuted. My friend asked him, well, how'd that happen? And the man on the other end of the line said, well, I touched a bare wire. Oh, my friend said, then you didn't get electrocuted, you just got shocked. And the tenant responded, well, it felt like I got electrocuted. Now, that's a funny story, right? But here's where I'm going with that. How in the world could we possibly believe that someone as big and powerful as God could enter our lives and it would not affect us? Like the little girl to her Sunday school teacher. Okay, now let me get this straight. I'm a little girl and God is a great big God who wants to come and live in me. That's right, responded the teacher. So when that happens, don't you think some of him will spill over? And in a childlike way, she had it right, didn't she? Which brings us to this last truth. My faith is not for real because of what I say or what I feel or even what I believe. But it is the real deal, but it is for real faith about what happens. What happens? Notice verse 18. But someone will say, you have faith, I have works. Show me your faith without your works, and I will show you my faith by my works. So here's the deal. Our deepest and most profound beliefs inevitably find their way into our behavior. We can't help ourselves. Because what you believe is what you do. All the rest is just religious talk. Let me say that one more time. What you truly believe is what you do, what you live. All the rest is just religious talk. If we have a dead, do-nothing faith about something, it won't affect what we do. But if we have a for real faith, a do-something kind of faith, it will lead us to take action consistent with that belief. It's like this. If you believe that human suffering and injustice are wrong, it will then lead you to do something about those inequities and about those ills, correct? If you believe deeply and profoundly that Jesus has the power to redeem people and set their lives in order, it will compel you to share Jesus with others, right? If you believe deeply and profoundly that God answers prayer, then you will quite naturally turn your heart toward prayer. Does that make sense? Genuine faith, the right kind of faith, compels you to act. It compels you to respond, to do something. Like the story I read years ago, the president of Moody Bible Institute in Chicago told the story. It was about a man named John returning to the college after a game of basketball down at the local YMCA. He was in his gym clothes still, and it was brutally cold and windy day, and he was in an obvious hurry. As he rounded the corner, John was stopped by a shabbily dressed man asking for money. The man said he was hungry, so John took him to a nearby restaurant for a meal. As they ate, John noticed the man's worn and tattered clothes and his shoes with holes in the soles. So before they left, John opened his gym bag that he was carrying that contained all of his street clothes, and he gave those clothes to that man along with his favorite and very expensive pair of shoes. Well, the man was taken back. He couldn't believe it. And he asked John why he would do that. John responded that it was because of Jesus, who had come into his life and changed his life. And right there in that restaurant, that man prayed to receive Jesus himself. Then on his way down the street again, John met an elderly woman waiting on a bus. She said, "I've been watching you, and I saw what you did for that man." John responded, "Why were you watching me?" "Well," she said, "because people don't do much of that kind of thing anymore, you know." And as John shared about Jesus with her and why he did what he did, the bus came and went. She missed her bus. So John picked up all of her bags and walked her down the street to the next bus stop. That lady was so moved, she said she wanted to know more about Jesus too. And John explained for the next 30 minutes all that he knew about Jesus. And right there, before she got on that next bus, she prayed and asked Jesus to be her Savior. Isn't that a great story, really? Listen, it's amazing what can happen when we go from merely verbalizing our faith to actualizing our faith. Heaven and earth collide. Lives are changed forever when that happens. So what's the bottom line? The bottom line is that what you believe is what you do. All the rest is just religious talk. That means your faith will be reflected in what you do on a daily basis because you just can't help yourself. Like the man who was trying to catch up on some reading related to his job, and his young son started interrupting him with, "Daddy, I love you." And then he would run over again, "Daddy, I love you." And then again, "Daddy, I love you." And the dad would respond, "I love you too, son." And then he would sort of brush the little boy back so he could continue his reading. Well, that didn't really do it for the little boy. So finally, he ran to his dad. He jumped through that reading material and up into his dad's lap. He threw his arms around his dad and he hugged him really tight and said, "I love you, Daddy, so much that I just had to do something about it." I like that story. Let's do something about our for real faith this week. How about that? Starting at home, let's do something about our for real faith. And then not just starting at home, but moving on to whomever else God puts in our path. Could we do that together? I think so. I hope so. Listen, have a great week this week. If I can help you in any way, please send me an email at mhaley777@gmail.com, or you can contact me on our website or any social media. I'd love to be able to pray for you or answer any questions that you might have. Hope you have a blessed week. God bless you, and we'll see you again soon.